you're watching this, you probably already know that morning sickness is more of a nickname than an actual descriptive term, because it's not necessarily just confined to the morning. That would be too easy. Oh no, you can have morning sickness any time of the day or night, or all day and all night. During my first trimester of pregnancy, I felt a little bit blindsided by how hard the morning sickness seemed to hit me. But along the way, I learned a lot of tips and tricks that actually worked for me to help ease the morning sickness. And I'm hoping that by making this video, they can help you too. So welcome to my masterclass, Surviving Morning Sickness 101. So I have a list of 11 things that helped me, and I want to go in order of what helped me most to least. I know everyone's different, but I spent a lot of time on forums, articles, pregnancy apps, and I tried a lot of different methods, and these are the things that helped to get me through. All right, so the number one thing I did that helped tremendously with my morning sickness, like literally transformed it overnight and made it so much more manageable, is I started eating protein and carbs right before I went to bed. For me, this started out as a Greek yogurt parfait with berries and maple syrup, and then over time it evolved into a fruit smoothie with Greek yogurt and maple syrup. So pretty much the same thing, just different form. But everything I've heard is that Greek yogurt is a really great option because it has a slow digesting protein, and so it will keep you full throughout the night. So not only was I not waking up in the night as sick as I would have if I hadn't been doing this, but it also completely transformed my days the next day. I went from feeling extremely nauseous pretty much 24 hours a day to doing this and then waking up feeling manageably nauseous and mostly just getting triggered by, my morning sickness triggers. But overall, the nausea was so much better. And the one time that I went to bed without eating my yogurt snack, I thought it was fine. I had, I think, a later dinner that night, so I thought it wouldn't be a big deal. That night ended up being the worst night of my pregnancy. I kid you not. It was bad. I will not go into detail, but it was horrible. I felt horrible. And so if you're struggling with morning sickness, this is definitely the number one tip that I would suggest you try today. It doesn't have to be Greek yogurt, but protein and carbs right before you go to sleep. Game changer. The second thing that helped me a ton was making sure that my stomach was never too empty. For me, this looked like eating every 2.5 to 3.5 hours. And it translated into about 6 meals a day. Some of the meals were probably closer to snacks than meals, but I just knew that if I let myself get too hungry, it was going to make things so much worse. It also made it worse if I overate, which tended to happen more if I let myself get too hungry. So even if it was just a small amount, I always tried to keep something in my stomach, and I just tried to listen to my body. When I started to get extra nauseous, I knew it was time to eat. The third thing that helped me a lot was keeping saltines by the bed. This saved me many times from throwing up. If I came back from the bathroom and was gagging, I could eat one real quick and it settled my stomach. If I woke up in the morning and felt sick, I could eat one really quick and settle my stomach. They're really bland, which is great when you're feeling sick, and they really were a lifesaver more than once. The fourth thing that I did that really helped was keeping the windows open and the fan on. When I say the fan, I mean the AC fan. We didn't run the AC 24/7, but we just kept air circulating. And even into my second trimester, this is still something that I need, or else I can smell things that no one else seems to notice. But yeah, just having that constant airflow kept my morning sickness at a much more manageable level. It was sort of a challenge to keep the windows open a lot of times because it was the end of fall when I was going through my first trimester, so sometimes it did get pretty cold. But even just cracking them helped, especially paired with the airflow from the fan. The next thing that I did to help with my morning sickness was eating or drinking cold things. Things like ices, smoothies, Otter Pops, popsicles. These would temporarily relieve my nausea as I was eating them. If I could have eaten them 24/7, I think I would have, but that wasn't realistic. But yeah, it was like a nice relief. I especially liked getting a big icy if we were going on a drive because I got car sick even easier during the first trimester. So having that icy to sip on as we went somewhere just helped a ton to get me through the drive. The next thing that helped a lot was sucking on hard candies, especially Jolly Ranchers and mints. It was kind of the same thing as with the cold things. While I was eating it, it helped so much, but once it was gone, the nausea would often come back. But these saved me so many times, like when I was in church or during a car drive when I didn't have access to food right that minute. I kept like an emergency stash in my purse, and if I was feeling sick, it just helped so much to pop one of those in. Of course, it was always better for me to eat real food, especially with protein and carbs, to feel better. But when I was in a pinch, these were a lifesaver. No pun intended. Sour candies are particularly good, so like even the green apple Jolly Ranchers would be good. They also have Prego Pops, and those are made with real cane sugar opposed to high fructose corn syrup. I couldn't find any locally, so I just went with the Jolly Ranchers and tried to limit them. But the Prego Pops are made specifically for pregnancy. The seventh thing that helped me a ton was resting. I really prioritized rest as much as I could during the first trimester in general, by sleeping longer during the night and napping if I felt like I needed it. But especially when I was having negative symptoms like stomach aches, really bad migraines, and even extra nausea from maybe eating bad over the week of Thanksgiving, rest helped me a ton, and I feel like it just was exactly what I needed during those times. Personally, it was kind of hard for me to rest as much as I did, because I like to be busy, I like to be productive, and oftentimes I'll feel guilty if I'm not doing something. But I just had to remind myself I am creating a life that is work. And I had to kind of let go of that need to feel productive every day during the first trimester. I did what I could. I did what I needed to do. But apart from that, I made myself rest. I took a break from YouTube. I took a break from exercise. I no longer work a conventional job, but if I had been during that time, with how horrible I felt most days, I think I would have needed to take a medical leave of absence, especially because my job was very physical in nature. I know that everyone's circumstances are different. I know that everyone doesn't have the luxury to rest as much as I maybe did during my first trimester, but I just encourage you to try to fit in more and give yourself a break. Even if that just looks like going to bed 1 to 2 hours earlier after work and asking for more help from the people around you. The eighth thing that I think really helped with my morning sickness was avoiding caffeine during the first trimester. That is no longer the case. But during that time when I was already so sick, I feel like it made me sicker. There were like a handful of times where I had a little bit here and there, and it did not help. It made me sicker. So for me personally, it was just best to avoid it altogether until I got over that hump. The ninth thing that I did that really helped was not forcing foods that didn't sound good. If you're pregnant and sick, I'm sure you know that this can make you sicker. And I've actually read that it can lead to permanent food aversions. So if you're not feeling it, just don't force yourself. The 10th thing that I did that helped was walking, going on walks outside. Now, in all honesty, I was very sick and very tired. So I did not do this often. I did it a handful of times maybe during my first trimester. A lot of times exercising was just the last thing I wanted to do. But it can potentially help with morning sickness. And there were a few times when I felt really nauseous and I went for a short, easy walk, and it did help with the nausea somewhat. And then the 11th tip is kind of a bonus one because this one didn't actually help me, but my sister-in-law, who is also pregnant and in her first trimester right now, told me about it, and she said that it helped her. So I thought I would include it for that reason. And that is to suck on a lemon with salt. By the time she told me about this, I was past a lot of my morning sickness, so I never really tried it to soothe that. But I could definitely see it working because sour candy helps you get over your morning sickness, so it makes sense that a sour citrus fruit would help you as well. And it's probably better for you. I'll be saving that one for baby number 2. Something that didn't help me as much as I expected it to was ginger, actually. One of my other sister-in-laws is so sweet, and she bought me a bunch of ginger candy and ginger tea and ginger ale, and it took the edge off a little bit, but ultimately, I got really sick of ginger really fast. And then at that point, I was kind of doing more harm than good. So that was surprising because I really thought the ginger would like carry me through it. But for me, it didn't work. But you can also try that because it might be different for you. Ginger is known to ease that. And I know that I read a lot of stories from pregnant women saying that that was like one of the things that got them through it. All right, and then I just want to say that if you're pregnant right now, I just wish you the smoothest and happiest pregnancy. I know morning sickness can be really, really rough. It can feel like it lasts forever. But just remember, it's going to pass. It's a short period of time in the span of your life and your child's life. And when you hold your little baby in your arms, it's going to be worth it. I just know it. If you do want more tips on how to survive the first trimester of pregnancy, I did make another video all about that. I go over all sorts of things in that video, including how to get through migraines with little to no pain medication, how I kept myself hydrated when I was struggling with an aversion to water, and what helped me with my frequent stomach aches. And that will be linked right here next. Make sure to hit that subscribe button for more content around simpler living, biblical femininity, and the art of homemaking. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.